Let's go over Star Wars Episode 9, the final film of the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy alike, currently being directed by J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, as you all know, Episode 9, J.J. Abrams is currently very much hard at work on closing the entire Skywalker saga. Now, I will say that my favorite character in the Star Wars franchise is without a doubt the Jedi Master himself, Luke Skywalker. Now, I will say that I was disappointed with how the character was treated in The Last Jedi by writer and director Rian Johnson, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there agree. But looking at Episode 9 and looking into the future here, a lot of people have been wondering exactly what does Mark Hamill have to do with Luke in Episode 9? Exactly what is going to actually happen? Now, these past couple of weeks, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the scene schedules, the concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which specifically goes over a sequence for Luke that could very well come into fruition for Episode 9 for one of the concept art descriptions. Specifically, both Kylo Ren and Rey in a jungle at night, lots of moonlight shining on the two characters. Suddenly, the Force ghost of Luke appears in the distance. As Luke is walking closer to Kylo and Rey, he appears young, like the Luke that we see in Return of the Jedi. Then an older man without a beard, eventually morphing into the Luke Skywalker we saw on the planet Crate with the beard. At this point, Luke's ghost is on top of a boulder and seems to be giving Kylo and Rey a lecture. So, this is a very interesting dynamic and a different angle for Star Wars. We've never seen a Force ghost interacting with two figures, alright? Two people. One on the light and one on the dark. We haven't seen that in a live-action film as of yet, and I think that's a very interesting angle for Star Wars. Some of you guys out there may disagree. The other thing, alright, could very well tie into with what we have been hearing and what we have been going over here these past couple of months, is the de-aging technology and how Mark Hamill shaved his beard. Now, the de-aging technology could have very well been used to create a young Luke Skywalker like how we saw in Return of the Jedi, except in the form of a Force ghost. Then he morphs into an older version of Luke without the beard. Now, you guys may recall, on Twitter, just before Mark Hamill began filming for Episode 9, he shaved off his beard entirely, and that's when he said, filming tomorrow, giving us a little hint that he's actually filming for Episode 9. So that could very well tie into this description of a Force ghost Luke without the beard, eventually morphing into the Luke that we know on the planet Crate with the beard and in that black cloak. So here's the thing. It seems like that maybe JJ has a plan on canonizing the concept of a Force ghost being able to manipulate its appearance through the ages, like a younger version of itself, or a middle-aged version of itself, or a complete mature version of, the character itself. We could very well see that take place in Episode 9. After all, we do know that JJ had this big concept of a hybrid Force ghost in Episode 9. Essentially the same thing, kind of, where you had the Anakin Force ghost bouncing back and forth between Darth Vader and Anakin, and even semi-Anakin. Very interesting concept, and I would really love to see that on the big screen, and we have heard some descriptions of that quite possibly making its way into the finalized version of the movie. As far as Luke's ghost goes, morphing from, the age of 19 and quite possibly into middle age, and then into the Luke that we saw at the very end of The Last Jedi. That to me sounds crazy, and I don't know if you guys like that or dislike that, if this actually does happen in the film, but to me, it honestly sounds very cool. Just thinking about it, I can see it in my head now, where you have like the young Luke walking for 2 seconds, then it transitions to a older Luke, and then it transitions to a mature Luke, like a really old version of Luke Skywalker. That to me sounds pretty cool, honestly. I think that's a great way to explain as to why at the very end of Return of the Jedi, Anakin Skywalker looked very young, and in the original version of Return of the Jedi, we had the older version of Anakin. I know a lot of people are like, well, why is he so young as a Force ghost? Because, well, George Lucas wanted to insert that into the, the Blu-ray version and all that kind of stuff, right? But they could make that a canon thing, where they could actually tell us more about Force ghosts and their abilities, and that could very well make that choice by George Lucas a canon piece for Anakin Skywalker. Maybe Anakin does have the ability to bounce back and back and forth between his younger years and his older years. That to me would be truly stunning, because regardless, when Anakin died, he was Anakin. When he was, being held by Luke, he was Anakin there. He was no longer a part of the dark side of the Force. So it's still very much possible that he could do that. But looking at Luke Skywalker, guys, to me, this is very, very crazy. I've never heard of anything like this before in the Star Wars franchise, and if this actually does come into play here for Episode 9, I think a lot of people are going to look at this as quite possibly a controversial moment for the character of Luke. I know not everybody's on board for a Force ghost in Episode 9, but as long as they do it right and they do something cool, I think that a lot of people should be able to enjoy it, as long as some flashbacks are inserted there as well, giving us a living version of Luke from the past. Now, it looks like that him coming back to life, obviously, that's pretty much not happening, but it's always good to talk about it. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.